Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who figure review. In today's Doctor Who figure review, I'll be taking a look at the UNIT 1975 Terror of the Zygons collector set containing Sergeant Benton, or Warrant Officer. I think he was promoted in Robot as a different regiment, and I believe he was a regimental sergeant major, I believe, in Terror of the Zygons. And we have the 4th Doctor and Tam O'Shanter and a standard unit soldier. So the way this video is going to work is I'm going to do the packaging, do the articulation and detail for the figures, and do a comparison to the existing figures as well. So without further ado, let's look at the packaging for this set. So taking a look at the packaging for the UNIT 1975 Terror of the Zygons set. So again, we have the traditional Star Guide packaging motif there. Again, the TARDIS Doctor Who logo there, the limited edition sticker, and a nice window box displaying all 3 figures, even little moustache unit character there. And of course the name of the set, the scale of the figures, 5+ character options. Side of the box, the nice TARDIS etched design. On the back we have prototype images of the figures themselves, and of course we have what's included within the set. And again on the other side we basically have what the set includes. So taking a look at the first figure in this set, and that is of course the 4th Doctor and Tam O'Shanter and tartan scarf. Now this is quite an exciting figure, and I guess the main selling point for the Terror of the Zygons set is of course this 4th Doctor figure, because if you know your figure history, you'll know back in 2012 there was a whole image released of some figures, and it included some prototype images, and it of course featured a Terror of the Zygons 4th Doctor. Now this, I believe, is a new head sculpt compared to the one what was originally leaked back in 2012, and I have to say that it is definitely so cool to finally have this 4th Doctor figure. And I will say fair play to Character Options for giving us this 4th Doctor variant, because obviously you know, Character Options like to reuse parts, and obviously they can only do this figure once, so it's great for the Character Options to essentially, you know, do this variant, because it's been on many people's lists for many years. So without further ado, let's look at the articulation for this figure. So taking a look at the articulation for the 4th Doctor figure, so the head can move ever so slightly, but it's hindered by the scarf. And if you're thinking of removing the head for this 4th Doctor, I wouldn't recommend it, because the peg for this 4th Doctor duffel coat sculpt is very small, and obviously if you try and remove it, you'll probably struggle to try and get the head back on. So I wouldn't recommend trying to remove the head for this figure. The arms can do a full 360-degree turn, bend at the elbow, bicep, 360 at the wrist. We do have waist articulation, but it's hindered by the coat. The legs can kick out because it's on a T-crotch joint, and can move ever so slightly to the side, but it's hindered by the duffel coat. We do have 360-degree turn at the thighs and bend at the knee. So taking a look at the detail for the 4th Doctor figure, so we start off with the Tam O'Shanter. So of course we've got the nice little red bobble there, the little bobble of the hat, and of course we've got the little metal badge there, insignia, which is done very well, and the red plume feather, which has been replicated there. As you can see, we've got a nice little detailing there, and of course we've got the pattern detail which goes all across the beret very nicely, and of course we do have the little fastenings at the back, which is really good attention to detail. And of course we've got the creasing detail where the hat just naturally falls on the creasing detail to give it that lifelike effect. Now the hair for the 4th Doctor has been beautifully realised. As you can see, we've got this sort of dark brown base coat with a light brown wash to really highlight the details of the curls and the textures of Tom Baker's hair, and I have to say that it's done really well, and a really sharp, crisp detailing for this figure. As you can see, it's just beautifully rendered and realised. So taking a look at the actual head sculpt itself, now this is one of those cases where the figure looks a lot better in hand. I feel like when I first saw the photos online, I was a bit like, okay, that looks alright, but it's one of those ones where you get it in hand, you're like, yeah, that definitely is Tom Baker. And I feel like the design team have done a brilliant job replicating and making this new head sculpt for Tom Baker. You know, the detailing's fantastic. You know, got the slight lines on the forehead, you know, the lines across that face to give that definition. Of the paint taps are just right, so you can still see the details. You know, you can see the slight you know, bags under Tom Baker's eyes. You know, it's just done really well. It's one of those ones where it's just been replicated, where you can see the slight detailing you know, of the lines on his face. You know, the classic 4th Doctor sideburns there. It's just done really well. You can see it in certain lights, and definitely from certain angles you really do get that it is Tom Baker. So I really do like it, and I will say this, do check for quality control, because you know, quality does vary between these Tom Baker figures. So if you move down to the actual costume, the actual scarf, now like I said, I wouldn't recommend removing the head for this figure, because the duffel coat 4th Doctor body has such a small peg, so it's very fiddly to get the head back on, and probably you'll struggle to get it back on, so I wouldn't recommend removing the head. So if you look at the scarf, again, this is a new piece, and it's been obviously given the tartan motif. Mine's got a slight bit of paint bleed there, as you can see, and obviously it's slightly missing some of the tartan design there. I don't know if that's because it's such a small scale or whatever, but it's fine from a distance. But yeah, they've done a very good job. We've got the tassel detail highlighted there, and again that continues right to the back there, continuing the tartan motif. One thing to note with the scarf as well, it's only painted on the one side. So we take a look at the actual costume. The main inaccuracy is obviously the tie. Now, the 4th Doctor in Terror of the Zygons didn't have a tie, but in some sort of rehearsal shots you can see the tie in it. So whether Tom wore the tie when he was sort of rehearsing Terror of the Zygons, I don't know, but obviously they've given him the sort of season 12 tie, even though it doesn't have the patterning. But that's done fairly well. As you can see, we've got the sort of creasing details there, which is done really on the collars on the shirt, and obviously the waistcoat's been replicated very well. That sort of I think it's Prince Charles design, I think that's what it is, with a nice sort of check motif, but I feel like it's more meant to be in keeping with what we saw on the Sontaran experiment and Genesis for Daleks. So I feel like it had a bit more red, that waistcoat, because I think that's when this waistcoat debuted, actually, in Terror of the Zygons, if I'm right. So we have the standard sort of detailing of the 4th Doctor's safari jacket there, which is done very well to give the illusion that his little safari jacket's underneath. The duffel coat itself has sort of a dark brown gloss finish to it, which is done very well. As you can see, we've got the nice creasing details where it just fall on the 4th Doctor, which is done very well to give that lifelike effect, and all the various creases to help really make this figure seem very lifelike. And obviously we've got the seams of the coat there where the coat's all been stitched together, which is done very well. So taking a look at the trousers now, you may notice that the trousers have sort of a mottled effect, and I think this is a really nice little addition to this 4th Doctor figure, because the 4th Doctor's trousers are very woolen, sort of tweed-esque, so they do have this sort of speckled effect, and obviously character options have sort of replicated that on the trousers again, which is a really nice little attention to detail to make it seem very lifelike and very realistic. Again, we have a traditional sort of 4th Doctor legs with the same creasing details we've seen going along the trousers. And taking a look at the shoes, we have the sort of brogue design there, the sort of patterning and the lace detailing done there, which is done very well, as you can see. So very good sort of standard 4th Doctor legs detail, what we've all grown to know over the years the 4th Doctor figures have been released. So that is the detail for the 4th Doctor. 4th Doctor duffel coat variants. So we have the sort of Toys R Us Genesis of the Daleks 4th Doctor, and of course we have the Genesis of the Daleks Forbidden Planet exclusive compared to the Terror of the Zygons B&M one. So the main difference, obviously, you can notice is the head. But the duffel coat, as you can see, is a lot more darker and a lot more has slightly more of a glossy finish, which I think is a lot more accurate to the duffel coat as seen in the show itself. But if I take a look at the waistcoat, as you can see, there is a slight difference in the waistcoat, and obviously the 4th Doctor's little safari jacket is a lot more of a sort of a lighter red, so it sort of stands out a lot more on the figure, which I think is a lot more better and a lot more accurate to how it appears in the actual show itself. And like I said, the waistcoat, I feel like the paint apps are a lot more crisp on the Terror of the Zygons one compared to this sort of slightly odd sort of design on the other duffel coat variant, as you can see there. And obviously you can see the difference in the sort of mottled effect on the 4th Doctor's trousers there, which is done very well, and I definitely think that is a good little addition to the 4th Doctor figures. So yeah, those are slightly differences, the duffel coat being a slightly different colour, and obviously the trousers, and obviously the waistcoat design, and obviously the tie as well. So those are slightly differences to the 4th Doctor duffel coat variant, what we've seen over the previous years. So here we have the unit boys, Benton and Corporal Moustache. Yes, this figure has been taking the internet by storm, because obviously it's a Captain Yates figure, but with a moustache, which is rather fun. So I'm quickly going to do the articulation, because the articulation is exactly the same for both figures, and I'll quickly look at the detail for one of them, because there's only slight sort of paint variants differences between the two figures. So let's take a look at the articulation for the unit soldiers. So taking a look at the articulation for both unit figures, so the heads can move side to side, the arms are ball jointed, the arms can do a full 360 degree turn, they can bend at the elbow, 360 degree at the wrist, and we do have 360 degree turn at the waist, and the legs can kick out and to the back and to the side, and we do have 360-degree turn at the thighs and bend at the knee. So taking a look at the detail for Benton. Now if you've seen my review of the 1971 Claws of Axos set, then you know that I absolutely adore the Sergeant Benton figure because the likeness is spot on to John Levine. I think that it is an incredible likeness to John Levine. So if you take a look at the detail, the beret is done very well. We've got sort of the crimpled detail there and where the beret sort of folds over, and of course we have the little unit insignia there painted and replicated very well, and obviously the black band of the beret going all across the figure very well. The hair sculpt's done very well, the sort of light brown, and obviously you can see the sculpting of John Levine's hair there, which is done very well. And like I said, the likeness is spot on. It is a very good likeness to John Levine. The slight lines on the face to give it that lifelike effect is just incredible. I really do like the likeness. So if we take a look at the costume now, as you can see, the main difference is obviously we've got the sort of camouflage look to it. So this has been done in a sort of dark green and then sort of with various little greens and browns to give that sort of camouflage look, which has been replicated very well. We've got the great detail of the woolen effect on the little neckerchief there, the neck scarf, which is done very well. We've got the great sort of buckles and fastenings on the little tunic pieces there, and the little boxes for ammunition, I guess, and the silver buckle on the belt really does pop. And again, we've got the buttons on the tunic and the pocket sculpted there to help give it that lifelike effect. Of course, we do have the Sergeant Benton sort of insignia there, the sort of sergeant look, which I don't think he had in the actual story actually. If we move to the back, we've got the sort of various fastenings, continued the creasing to give it that lifelike effect there. And again, we've got the little unit badge on one side there, which has been replicated very nicely. And we move down to the gloves. The gloves are essentially sort of the Brigadier one. As you can see, we've got sort of the various sort of finger detail there, which is done very well. And we move down to the trousers. Now the trousers are quite interesting in the sense that they've got a slight sort of white sort of dry brush on it to give that sort of worn and faded look, to give that sort of worn out look, which I really do like. Hopefully you're picking it up on camera. You can see the slight weathering there to give that sort of slightly faded, worn look to it, which I really do like. And again, we've got the creases and the seam on the trousers, and the shoes have been replicated there with the lace detailing, and where the shoes have been sort of panelled and stitched together. So that is the detail for Sergeant Benton. Very nice detailing, very much the same praise as what I had for the Claws of Axos Benton figure. So I'll just bring in Corporal Mustache, which is totally not Mike Yates with a mustache. Yeah, I believe that there is a unit soldier with a mustache in Terror of the Zygons. It's been a while since I've watched it. I feel like you can just get away with it. I feel like you can get away with it, and it's nice to have a sort of standard unit trooper. You know, you can't really do the head sculpt because it is a Mike Yates figure, so it seems a bit silly. But yeah, it's very much the same detail as the Mike Yates figure. Very much the same detailing as the Benton figure. The only difference being that the sort of buckles and straps being a sort of a lighter green on the sort of generic unit soldier compared to Benton. Of course, this doesn't have the sergeant insignia on the arms. You know, this is just a standard unit trooper, and obviously the beret is a slightly lighter colour, but very much the same detail as what you would expect on the Sergeant Benton figure, just with a bit of a mustache for Captain Yates. So yeah, let's do a quick comparison to the other unit figures, what we've had so far. So moving on to the comparison for the unit squad. So obviously the base figure for the Sergeant Benton and Yates, and obviously the Corporal Mustache figure, is the Three Doctors Brigadier, but with a new PVC piece to go over the top. So if we do a quick comparison to the sort of Terror of the Zygons and Claws of Axos Benton figure, as you can see, the main difference obviously being the camouflage look, and the beret slightly has a bit more of a lighter finish to it on the Claws of Axos one compared to the Terror of the Zygons one. And you can see the difference in the trousers, that they're more sort of a khaki colour on the Terror of the Zygons one compared to the Benton, and the shoes are now sort of a browny sort of grey colour instead of the black slight gloss to them on the Claws of Axos one. You know, very much the same sort of detailing, like I said, just slightly repainted in the camouflage look to it. So that is essentially the detailing and differences for those. So if we just put those there, and doing the comparison to Captain Yates and Corporal Mustache, you can see, you know, to make it a 70s figure, you give it a mustache. So yeah, those are literally the differences. Like again, the same sort of detailing difference in the beret there, and obviously the camouflage look to it, and again, very much the same differences as the Benton figure, just, you know, Mike Yates head slightly tweaked and given a mustache to make a sort of more generic unit soldier. So yeah, very much the same sort of stuff, what you would expect. So those are the slight differences and comparison to the other unit figures what we've had so far. Now the unit soldiers, of course, you know, wouldn't be a unit soldier without a gun. So this time Al Jawar has given us some more accurate weapons, because a lot of people were complaining that, you know, the weapons weren't accurate, which I wasn't too fussed about, because I thought as long as the figures come with weapons, that's all what really matters. But obviously they've been given the sort of more accurate weapons of the time. Now these weapons sort of remind me of what you see in sort of the Three Doctors when they're fighting the Gel Guards. But this is done very well. As you can see, we've got the various detailing there. It's just moulded in black plastic, you know, got the sort of trigger detailing there on the actual gun. You know, it's done very well, and of course that just slots into the unit soldier's hand like so. And of course, if you just position, have a bit of a play around, you can get him to hold it in various ways, like so. So you can have him position holding the gun and ready to fight some aliens. So yeah, that is the gun accessory. So what are my overall thoughts on the Unit 1975 Terror of the Zygons set? Well, I have to say that I do quite like this set. I think the 4th Doctor is a great addition. It's a variant what fans have wanted for so many years, so it's great to finally see that variant of the 4th Doctor be released. And like I said, fair play for character options for doing a new head sculpt. You know, because this figure can only be done once, so it's great that character options thought, you know what, we're going to push the boat out and give fans this variant of the 4th Doctor. And I have to say that I really do like it, but like I said, do watch for quality control so you can make sure that you get, you know, good one with good paint apps, like I said. But it is a very nice figure. I really do like it, and it's definitely the standout figure in the set for me. The Sergeant Benton figure, very much the same praise as what I had for the Benton figure what was released in the Claws of Axos set, you know, with a slight variant on the paint apps, you know, to make it seem more in keeping to how he appeared in Terror of the Zygons. But then we move to the generic sort of unit soldier, basically the Yates figure with a mustache. I think that it is a nice figure. It's nice to have sort of a unit grunt figure, so you can sort of use him as sort of background fodder if you do figure animations, and it is quite nice just to have a standard unit soldier really, which I do like. And I get that there is criticism, you know, why didn't they include like a, you know, a capped version of the Brigadier? You know, one what featured in the Damon set. You know, I guess that would have worked very well. You know, well, why not package a Zygon figure? You can see the Zygons work incredibly well with these figures as well. They fit in very well. Or, you know, I think personally I would have liked to have seen sort of a standard Harry figure, you know, with his sort of blue jacket, blue shirt, you know, his standard costume, what you see throughout season 12 and the start of season 13. You know, I would have liked to have seen that personally in a sense, but I do like having the unit soldier. You know, or you could have done a Terror of the Zygons Sarah Jane figure, you know, so it'll take the Monster Paladin Sarah Jane figure out and do a Sarah Jane figure in that. You know, you could sort of use the same sort of combat Martha body and sort of use the sort of Claudia Brown torso for the top half to give that sort of jacket look. You know, I think that would have worked very well. I do like having the inclusion of the unit soldier, you know, just to have that sort of background unit character there, which is done very well. So I do like this set. I think that this is one of the highlights of this wave. So yeah, I get why people sort of can be a little bit upset about this set, but overall I really do like it. I think the 4th Doctor is a much, you know, wanted variant, and it's great to finally have it and put it on the shelf with the other 4th Doctor variants. Benton, same praises, and the unit soldiers, like I said, it's just nice to have a sort of standard unit soldier. So thank you very much for watching this review. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you on my next figure review, whatever that will be, whether it be the 3rd and 4th Doctor companion set or the Friends of the 13th Doctor. So thank you very much for watching this review, and I'll see you next time. So thank you very much, and bye bye.